Hello and welcome, this is Mousegunner, and we're back with some more of the Beast and Exploration DLC for Battle Brothers, and I just came out of the big fight against a horde of zombies, and this is going to be what we will expect more of in the future, because we know what our end game is going to be. It's going to be against undead, so we can expect more of that, but I expect them to be in greater numbers. So I think that that battle was proof that the concept that we have is going to be effective, at least in the case of zombies, where we use a wall of spears to keep the zombies off of us. That actually worked really well, and if we can continue to develop that, because I don't think it's quite there just yet, but if we can continue to develop that, it'll be a very effective strategy for us. What I do worry about more is skeletons and maybe some of the other undead and how effective this will be. The spear walls will keep the skeletons off of us, but spears really don't do a lot of damage to skeletons, so once they break that spear wall, it's going to be tougher to deal with them than it would be with zombies. In particular, the archers, the crossbowmen, they're going to not be as effective as well against skeletons. So really, we're pinning our hopes on just a few men to deal with the skeletons, and we'll have to see how well we can pull that off. In any case, we have some cleanup to do after that battle, in particular leveling this guy up here. So as far as perks go, he still has a ways to go. Now this is more one of our frontliners who was already set up for the spear mastery, and we're probably going to look to get Ralph in that direction as well, but at the moment he's not at that level so we can actually pick it, so we have to pick something else. He's fairly well armored, so I don't think we need to worry about Brawny. I think we get the shield expert because I'm trying to go for a more defensive setup where our front line tries to keep the enemy at bay, prevent them from really doing a lot of damage, and hopefully the back line will clean things up for us and do the real damage. At least in theory, that's the idea of the strategy. So that's why we're going to take Shield Expert. And this is also going to help. The more men in the front that we have, the Shield Expert, it's going to kind of stack that bonus, because as you have allies near you using the shield wall, it's just going to improve and improve. So definitely, we're going to go ahead and take this. Alright, so now we do the roll. Alright, so I'm definitely going to take the melee defense, because it's a decent roll. Unfortunately, I'm not rolling well in the attack abilities, but with a spear, it's not as key. That's one of the reasons why I really like spears. Obviously, having the attack value is good, but when you can't get it, you can't get it. I think in this regard, we're going to take the fatigue, because fatigue is always good. Although this guy's getting kind of close to maxing out. And I'm also going to take resolve, because I think that will be pretty important against the undead, because that's these are the two ways that undead are going to beat you. They're going to beat you in fatiguing you, because they don't have fatigue, and they're going to beat you in resolve, as they don't have resolve. So those are two things they can take advantage of you in that regard. So we need to kind of boost those abilities when we can. All right, well, let's take a look at our injuries. So this guy took some pretty bad injuries, so we're going to be replacing. In this case, we're going to replace Diethelm over here, who can serve that same role of using javelins. So we'll just take the javelins and pass them on over. I don't think I have spare javelins. Now, we got a lot of these cleavers. I mean, they're called something else, but I'm not even going to attempt to pronounce that. But it's a type of cleaver weapon. We're starting to get into the realm of cleaver weapons being pretty effective. As a matter of fact, it may be tempting, because I haven't yet, I don't think, I haven't actually picked what mastery. I could have last time, but I picked something different. I think I picked the shield wall or something else for our sergeant. So I haven't picked that mastery yet. And cleavers do present an interesting thing, because the one thing about zombies, to put them down permanently, you want to chop their head off. Again, we're not really set up to do that. Spears aren't going to do that. The axe here could do it. The swords can do it, but they don't really have a great chance of doing it. They can, but cleavers are going to be much better at that. So if we're going to really be worried about that, it may actually be worth switching. Because if we look at the arming sword, it is 40 to 45. So it's going to have a higher minimum damage, but if we look at this, it's 30 to 45. So the maximum damage is the same, even though this is kind of a lower tier weapon, because there are higher tiers of cleaver. I think War Cleaver gets towards the higher end of a cleaver. It is going to be more fatiguing to carry, so that would be the main problem. So I'm not sure if I'm going to use it yet, but that might be somewhere we could go with Jost, our sergeant, to have a cleaver so we can use, because one of the abilities you have is specifically called Decapitate. So that could be very effective against zombies. It's not going to be useful outside of that, although Decapitation is a big morale effect against enemies that have morale. Obviously, that wouldn't affect an undead, but it's a possible choice. And with Jost, he has a high enough attack ability that I'd be comfortable using a cleaver, because it's not going to have the melee bonus to attack that a sword will have. So yeah, we have a bunch of these cleavers that we got from the undead, so that is a possibility. All right, well that's kind of an idea of somewhere we could go in the future. But for now, we're just going to move things around a little bit to get ourselves ready. Definitely the dogs helped, and I think that's going to be a strategy that will work out. Oh, this spear has very little life left. That was the one that was close to breaking on us. We might as well just replace that with the one that's a little bit more conditioned, so we not burn through all our tools trying to repair it. Not sure there's anything else we really need to do. I mean, some guys took some damage, but I don't think any of it was super serious. Yeah, nothing else. This guy took a lot of damage, but we're going to be replacing him until his injury goes away, which it's going to take 1 to 2 days, so it's not too bad. I think other than that, we're more or less ready to go. And we do have this shirt here that's going to be better, but I don't think anybody has the fatigue to wear it at the moment. And these are better armor anyway, so this guy has the fatigue to do stuff, but at the moment we don't have better gear for him to use, so no real point there. Yeah, I don't see anybody that has the fatigue available that could do with an upgrade. So, yeah, for the meantime, we're just going to hold on to that. It will be something we can do later. Things like the padded leather are starting to get a little obsolete, so that might be something we get rid of. Although, saying that, it's the same fatigue penalty as this, isn't it? So we might as well just upgrade to it. Yeah, let's go ahead and do that. So these are starting to get obsolete. Yeah, I'll go ahead and upgrade these two guys to have the padded leather, because why not? It's the same fatigue penalty. It's not going to really be a detriment. All right, I think we're more or less ready to go. Let's go back home and get our money. The important part of that. It is interesting, though, because I've been doing another playthrough in my spare time. I've really been enjoying this DLC, and I've done a very different build with that company than this one. And here I'm much more defensive. With that one, I'm more about offense. And rather than using shields, I'm using more bucklers, if I'm even using a shield. Using a lot more two-handed weapons, that kind of stuff. So it's kind of interesting seeing quite a bit different strategy. I will say, as much as that kind of build can be fun, it's a lot harder. I think that the build that I'm doing is easier to get going, but it can be challenging in the later games. So that's kind of, with the more offensive builds, they can be really good for you in the late game, but your guys are glass cannons, and considering the difficulty of this game and how easy it is for people to get killed, it's a lot harder to get going. You need to get the guys high level before that style of play really starts paying off. So it's a lot more challenging, I think, to do that kind of build. Whereas when you're at low level guys, you give them a shield, you give them a spear, a low level guy can manage that. So Hank the Guildmaster listens to your report of the undead and shrugs. What a shame. He nonchalantly sips at the rim of a goblet and pitches a hand to the corner of the room. Your pay is in the chest. Gustav will see you out. So we get our money. They are no longer terrified. That's great. All right, so we have another contract here. Whether or not we're going to be ready to do it, I'm not sure. Whether or not we should stick around to do stuff with the market, I'm not sure as well. We do have the amount of money we needed to get our ambition, so that's good. As far as supplies go, we do need a little bit of food. Let me take a little bit of a look around the world. Now, my objective here was to stick around Rheinberg and Torvstad and kind of improve our relationship to the point we have a more friendly attitude, so that we can take advantage of things like the armorer, the Fletcher, the weaponsmith that is in this area. Because I feel like we need to continue trying to upgrade the weapons that we have on hand. So, with that in mind, because I think I have men that could potentially... I'm just looking at the skills here of my men. Okay, so I don't actually have that many men that are good from a melee standpoint. Not melee, range standpoint. Like this guy, he could do it. This guy could do it. But obviously that's what he was doing anyway. So really outside these couple corner guys, we really don't have more need for javelins or things like that. But maybe eventually. But just different weapons, upgrades would be nice. So let's... My choice is to camp here and wait for morning. It's not that far away, so let's go ahead and do it. There we go. That's all we needed. Alright, so let's go ahead and take a look at the marketplace. Preferably I'd like to sell these for a profit, which it looks like we're going to get, so I'll go ahead and do so. It's not a huge profit, but hey, it's something. Gets us even further in that 7,500 because I don't know how much of our money is going to be consumed. Tools are cheap here. I might as well buy them. I just have to be careful with how much money I spend. I think I'm going to buy a little bit of food. And we'll sort that on up. And then we also have cheap ammunition here as well. This is a pretty good spot. Outside of medical supplies are just not that cheap. Medical supplies is one of the actually hardest resources to get because you usually have to go to specific places for them to be cheap. Whereas you'll have an easier time finding ammunition and tools cheaper. It can be a difficulty, but they're never usually marked up to the same level of medical supplies. But in any case, I am going to go ahead and pick up, I think, all of these tools. Because tools are extremely valuable. And I'll pick up a little bit of ammunition, but we don't really need that much. Alright, so we probably have a bunch of things to sell from those zombies. So let's take a look at that. So, let's see here. I'm just going to go ahead and sell the 9% boar spear or 6% boar spear. Because it's just going to take too many resources to repair. So get rid of that. I'll sell some of the more beat up cleavery type weapons. I mean, honestly, I probably don't need to keep any more than one around. We'll get rid of some of these beat up hatchets. As a matter of fact, we probably don't need more than one around. Get rid of some of these axes. Probably don't need to keep more than a couple around of those. We don't need any of these. We're well past the time for those. And then we could get rid of some of this this Gambeson, because at this point, most of my men, we have better armor than it, because at the same fatigue level, the padded leather is just a better set of armor. And outside of a couple people, we really don't need that. Like, we could use it on him once he gets the fatigue level that I'm comfortable using it. And we could use it on this guy, again, same rationale there. Once we get to the fatigue level where I'd feel comfortable using it, we could give that guy it as well. But yeah, I think we don't need as many around. So I'll sell the ones that are more beat up. Like, for example, this one. Then we can keep the more full set here. As a matter of fact, we probably don't need to keep this around either. But I'll keep it around just for the meantime. Okay. Well, definitely we cleaned things out a bit, made a good chunk of cash. Let's see real quick what we're looking at in the Fletcher. So at this moment we're at crossbow, I believe. What level ranged weapons do we have? So we have crossbow and we have hunting bow. This guy doesn't seem to have anything better than that. I know there is higher levels than that. Oh, actually no, there is a heavy crossbow here. This guy seems to specialize more in crossbows. Okay. Another thing I could get into is I could get into throwing axes. The main advantage of the throwing axes is that they are lighter than javelins. As far as I've seen, though, they do about the same kind of damage. I'd have to check that. There is some slight variance between them, but I don't think I'm going to buy one here just yet because there is quite a bit of a markup here. Okay, then we're going to take a look at the armor to see what they got. I just have to keep in mind that the big thing right now is that outside of maybe one man, which would be this guy here, who has a little bit of fatigue to play with, but I'm not sure how much of a frontline guy he is. Although saying that, yeah, I still think that's true. So with that in mind, if he's not necessarily a frontline guy, although he's pretty darn close, is he worth buying armor for? At the moment, he's at basic male shirt level, which is pretty good. The next level after that would be... I mean, this guy has pretty high level stuff, looking at it. I guess just a normal male shirt like this would be the next level. And then we've got the hauberks, which these are the same thing, it's just a little bit of different appearance. Noble male, okay. Oh, okay, so that's like the next level beyond that one. Do we have any little strap-on bits? Leather shoulder guards gives you plus 10 durability for no fatigue. Yeah, I'll go ahead and grab that. Another thing we may want to get in the future would be a heater shield. It has more fatigue than a wooden shield. Not as bad as a kite shield, but it gives you more melee defense, so it is definitely worth it if you have the fatigue to spare. But I think leather shoulder guards wouldn't necessarily be a bad thing to pick up, so we'll go ahead and get that. And that's probably everything we want to do in this town for now, except obviously get the job that they have, if it's a job that we want to take, of course. Let's take a look at it. Alright, Rupert the Younger stares out the window, watching a group of men loading cargo into a number of wagons, so this is definitely going to be a cargo escort thing. He talks without looking your way. I have an important delivery heading out to Turnfeste, roughly 2 days south of here. Unfortunately, a competitor outbid me in acquiring local band of caravan guards, and so on and so forth. How many crowns are we talking about? Not a lot of money. I will ask for more. He says no. I'm going to accept the offer, and I'm going to just tell him we'll think about it. I need some time to think about it. Alright, let's look at our map. So he wants me to go down here. That's not too far away from where we are, and it keeps us within the faction limits of this area. So not necessarily a bad idea. And then we could go back up to Torvstad, and this will improve the relationship in this town, which is something we want to do. So honestly, I did buy some food, which is going to be a little bit of a problem because that food may spoil. Where are we looking at for food? So if I sort this on up. So this is going to spoil in 3 days, 6 days, 7 days, 3 days. So with that, we're going to be traveling with the caravan. But our food will not be consumed, which is kind of a good thing, but it just... We're going to have like 1 day left once we get here, depending on exactly how long it takes us, because sometimes that 2 days is kind of a rough estimation. This guy will probably be healthy by then, so that's good. I think it's probably a good idea. Now, the question is, where do we want to put these leather shoulder guards? It'd have to be on somebody that we would really want to give more protection to, but somebody that we'd have a hard time doing so. So, minus 10. Okay. So this could be a potential. This is one of my better men? No, it isn't. Yeah, I think Hans is one of our guys that isn't typically a frontliner. This guy probably is, Ralph. Like, just looking at the stats here, I think Hans we would be replacing once this guy's healthy. Which that should happen within, potentially, the time frame. So, of our frontliners, Arnulf the Artisan would be the one that we would most want to give, I think, that little bit of extra protection. And then that would propel him to being at the 105, so not quite. It'd be better than... No, not quite there either. Yeah, it's a tough call. Especially as all we would need is like 1 fatigue up, and then I just give him this. So I think I'll hold on to it for now until we're at a more definite moment. Alright, let's go ahead and take that job. I accept the contract. Okay, off we go. Gather enough crowns to pay the cart maker for his work. Did cost you an arm and a leg. quite literally in some cases. Now the proud owner of a new wagon, you're able to carry both more equipment and more spoils of war, be it silverware and golden crowns, or the half-torn and lice-filled gambeson of a random thug. After traveling the first miles with the new wheels, you notice that Rupert seems to be missing. Looking around, you eventually find him hidden behind some grain bags on the wagon, snoring away peacefully. Some cold water to the head and a boot to the butt quickly get the sluggard back on his feet and walking like the others. Still, you better make sure the men know their place. I won't have any of this. The only way anyone of the cursed will ever find himself on this wagon is carrying his own head under the arm. Be ever watchful and have your arms at the ready when we travel these lands. Men grumble and continue on. So we lose 5,000 crowns of the money we amassed, but we get renown, we get some inventory space. I'm going to see exactly how much, and we get a little bit better morale amongst the men, which is typical for that kind of thing. And looking really quick, we had 99, we're up to 126. So that improved us by 27. I hope my math is correct on that one. I think it is. So that's quite good for us. That will allow us to get more stuff. And for this particular DLC, pretty important upgrade, considering some of the stuff that you're going to want to be keeping as far as hides and what have you of beasts, so you can use a taxidermist to craft with them. But in any case, it's going to be a good point to go ahead and put a cut in the video, so I hope you guys have enjoyed. This is Mouse Gunner, signing out.